We're live.
Okay. Hello, and welcome to Steamworks and Steamworks Spirit Station. It's a weekly event that we have together here at Steamworks Creative in Gibsonia, PA. My name is Greg Spencer. I'm the pastor at Trinity United Methodist Church in Brackenridge, but I also have a ministry called Way Stations Ministries. And this is a partnership between Steamworks and Way Stations to bring some relaxation, some comfort, some inspiration, and a little bit of recreation and fellowship too for people both live here in the Steamworks Creative Listening Room or online. And we're very grateful that you can tune in to be with us in this live stream. We want to give thanks to Justin, who is doing all of our tech work for us tonight. And we are very pleased to welcome the musical artist for tonight is Mr. Brad Farster. And he's going to be accompanied by Mike Huston. So it's going to be great in just a minute or two. There seems to be... these sessions are available not only here, but also online and Facebook, and it will be recorded and it will be posted on our YouTube page as well, so you can get access to it in a lot of different ways. Tonight's theme is the good we got. Can't get enough, and too much is okay. That's what we're going to be working on a little bit tonight, because it seems like all we're hearing is bad news, and it seems like the press, even more than before, is trying to find some kind of crisis or negativity to trumpet and to blast so that we can get upset. Sometimes I think people are just going for that emotional card. And after a year of the pandemic and all the crises that have happened because of it and in the midst of it, we need a little bit of a refreshment, don't you think? We need to lift our spirits. We need to be able to live a little brighter. We think that that'll happen when we don't have the vaccines to worry about or the virus to worry about. But I'd like to suggest that we can live happy even in the midst of some of the crud we have to face. If we could figure that out, then no matter what problem or hardship we have to encounter, we can find a way to be okay in the midst of it. And wouldn't that be a better place to be most of the time? So that's what we're going to be focusing on tonight. And but set that up, what we always do is have music first. It's a chance for you to let go. Stop worrying about the work. Stop worrying about the responsibilities. Don't think about your money. Don't think about any of your problems. Take a moment to breathe, just to relax. Say, this is a time apart. This is an oasis in the midst of the desert. And so what I want to do is invite you to pray with me. Hey, God, life bites sometimes. Sometimes it seems like life bites too many times. And this time, it seems like it's biting all the time and for a very long time. We need your help. We could use a lot of help here right now. So, have we been getting in our own way? Have we been the source of our own suffering? If we have, we need you to shine a little bit of a light on that. We need you to open up our hearts and open up our minds so that we can be a little bit better off. And as we relax now and try to separate ourselves from the crud of our lives, let the music stir in our hearts. Let it stir our imagination. Let it comfort our souls. Let it take us to a new and wonderful place so that in this time, it's really good. We thank you for bringing Brad and Mike, and we look forward to the music that they're going to offer and the difference they're going to make. So let's begin with music from Brad Farster and Mike Huston.
Hello. All right, so we got a bunch of songs that most of you probably never heard before. They're a friend of mine out in Oklahoma produced a bunch of records for my favorite band. He has his own band, and so they got a gig once, and it was at a prison, and then they went to go play at the prison, and they found out very shortly before the gig that they had to play all gospel songs. And so they were like, so the creative people that they were, they decided, we're going to write a bunch of our own gospel songs to play at the prison. And so that's what they did. So that's what a bunch of these songs are. And I had to bring my new guitar, first time it's out of the house. So I'm going to attempt to play some leads. We'll see how that goes. Okay. This first song's called Deliver Us. Pick up your troubles, pick up your blues, take them all down to the river. Name of the Father and the Son, name of the one that delivers. Deliver us from the wicked one. Let the Just like the sparrow, he sees us. Deliver us from the wicked one. Let the water wash away all our sins. Lift up our souls on a rock that don't roll. Scatter our troubles to four winds. Deliver us from the wicked one. Let the water wash away all our sins. Lift up our souls on a rock that don't roll. Scatter our troubles to four winds. So Mr. Michael Huston here beside me, he learned all these songs, what we practiced, maybe an hour and a half.
I'm gonna practice for a year.
All right. This one's called Mr. Devil. All right, here we go. I found Jesus and I laid my burdens down. I found Jesus, and he gave to me a crown. He gives me power, so you can polish my stone. Mr. Devil, leave my crown and me alone. Tried my faith and one time up to Mr. Devil, I'm growing tired of you. So you won't leave me alone. I've got work hard through. Don't you tell me what I can and cannot do. I found Jesus and I laid burdens down. I found Jesus and he gave me a crown. Gives me power. You can polish my stone, Mr. Devil, leave my crown and me alone. You have called my name in lonely midnight hour. Knocked on my door, found me there. So that I used to tremble, but those days are gone. Mr. Devil, I'm no longer scared. 'Cause I found Jesus and I laid burdens down. I found Jesus and he gave me a crown. Gives me power. You can polish my stone, Mr. Devil, leave my crown and me alone. I found Jesus and I laid burdens down. I found Jesus and he gave me a crown. Gives me power. You can polish my stone, Mr. Devil, leave my crown and me alone. Mr. Devil, leave my crown and me alone. Mr. Devil, leave my crown and me alone.
What's next one? Blind Man.
Oh, okay. This next song is called Blind Man. Sometimes you gotta have faith like a blind man.
On the song anymore.
Uh-oh. That's not good. What do we do? Oh. There we go. I gotta learn how to use all my toys. In the middle of the road, halfway across, but he don't know. Cars on the left, Cars on the right, can't see nothing but the end side of his goal. Sometimes you gotta feel like a blind man, stay in the middle of the road. Young boy Dave was slinging sand, a fight of his life that Johnny man. God said, Dave, take the stone, believe in me, you'll never be alone. Sometimes you gotta feel like David, slinging a stone. Faith don't need no second opinion. You don't have to prove it, just got to believe. We're all one under God's dominion. Just a willing heart, it's all that you need. Living in a nursing home, waiting on a visitor calling the phone. Passes time by the window sill, prays for the blind man crossing the street. Sometimes you gotta feel like a blind man, stand in the middle of the road. Faith don't need no second opinion. Don't have to prove it, just got to believe. We're all one under God's dominion. So willing heart, it's all that you need. Stay in the middle of the road, halfway across, halfway to go. Cars on the left, trucks on the right, can't see nothing but the end side of his goal. Sometimes you gotta feel like a blind man, stand in the middle of the road. Sometimes you gotta feel like a blind man, stand in the middle of the road. Alright, we'll give this one a try. Alright, we got one more for the first set here, and this one's called Follow Me Down. Follow me down to the river, follow me down to the shore. Take my hand and you'll understand what you're living for. Ain't no time for hesitation, got a brand new destination, just believe. The healing water's gonna set you free. Follow me down to the Way Station, follow me down to the tracks. Leave your sins and jump on in, this train ain't coming back. Ain't no time for hesitation, got a brand new destination, just believe. The gospel train is gonna set you free. me out of the valley, follow me into the light. One road brings salvation, one brings endless night. Ain't no time for hesitation, got a brand new destination, just believe. The road to glory's gonna set you free. Follow me down to the river, follow me down to the station, follow me out of the valley, follow me out of the valley. See you guys in a little bit.
Let's give another big hand to Brad Farster. I don't know who it was that first said this, but he says, if life's got you down and you find yourself going through hell, keep going. You don't want to stay there. You don't want to get stuck there. You don't want to be trapped there. Absolutely right. Oh my, that's terrific. Thank you so much, Brad. Thanks, Mike. You had those times that your emotion you can't control carries your mind away, doesn't it? You ever try to concentrate and that whatever it is that's going on in the back of your mind just doesn't let you do it? It just continually intrudes. It starts to affect everything. It affects you physically, it affects you mentally, it affects you spiritually, and you feel like you're trapped. And it's really hard, and that can be in all kinds of ways. Sometimes it's stress, sometimes it's a variety of emotions. It happens a lot with grief. And I've known several people who feel like they're trapped, and sometimes for an extended period of time. Maybe you've experienced someone like that in your life too, where the burden is so heavy that everything seems dark, everything seems bad. And when they think of the lost person, it brings tears to their eyes. And they feel like that's a bad thing. And sometimes, if it goes long enough, they start to think that there's something wrong with thinking that way, or that they should be over it. And sometimes they have friends that'll tell them, you should be over that by now. Well, hold on just a second. What's going on? They're remembering. They're cherishing. They're loving. The tears are of expression of a closeness and an intimacy that they don't want to let go of. And who says they have to? It's not about that. Now, one of the things that I've tried to give advice in situations like that is the beauty and the wonderful gift of God called the IRS. I know, everybody's wondering, especially nowadays because it's that season. But what does the government require when a death happens? You've got tons of paperwork that you have to do. The funeral director will start telling you how many copies of the death certificate you need to have and all the things that you're going to have to do. And it just demands this. You have to go here, you have to go there, you have to arrange everything, you got to settle everything down. And that doesn't feel like a gift, it's a burden, and you just hate it. And you think, oh, that government, why are they doing that? And it's so cool because God has really given that as a gift. Because when we're caught in the emotional grip of grief, the government forces us to get back on our feet. The work that we have to do that's required helps us to get on our feet again. It helps us to live again. It doesn't take away the emotion. It doesn't take away the love. It doesn't take away the grief. But it does enable us to be able to function. And it helps us to make our way. And it helps us to be stronger and stronger in that way. And it takes a while to do that. As that happens, the tyranny of the emotion declines. And you'll come to a place where you can remember and cherish and smile as well as weep. And you realize that it's all good. And that's a gift too. You see, a hungry heart is a miserable heart. But a grateful heart is a happy heart. And that's what we want to find. We want to find that in the midst of our hardships. If there was a way that we could be well in the midst of the struggle, then we wouldn't be so overwhelmed by the struggle, would we? We wouldn't be as broken by it. We'd be encouraged through it. And this is the secret of faith. One of the reasons I'm trying to do Way Stations Ministry, and one of the races for the Spirit Station, is we want to reach out to people that may not be looking to church because they've heard a lot of bad things about church, and sometimes it's reputation. Sometimes they've never been there, and it seems like a foreign country, and we're not sure we want to go there. We've heard stories about the kind of love and grace that God offers, but maybe we haven't experienced it. Maybe we don't understand it. Maybe we don't know how to look for it. Sometimes we've seen movies that have been very touching and moving and that's encouraging, but it doesn't seem to relate to our lives that much. And so we feel like religion or faith or God is out here, and where we need something is in here. And since that seems so far away, we try to look for other ways to fill it. We try to find other things that will help us to feel better or to be encouraged or to be uplifted. That doesn't always work so well. But I think we can find it. I think it's a journey. I don't think it's an on or off thing. I think it's something that can become more and more a part of our lives if we understand how to look and where to look. And so one of the things that I like to do is base it on Scripture. And the last couple of weeks we've been looking at a very famous passage of Scripture, and a lot of people know it pretty well and they've heard it many times. It's called Psalm 23. And we're just looking at a couple verses at a time, and I'm dealing with it from the idea that we don't know if we can trust or believe that. So here's the word for tonight. It's verses 4 and 5. This is the word of the Scripture. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Overflows is what that means. You believe that? You know what a rod and staff is? You know what that's about? There's some books and stories that have been used to describe what that is, and they've tried to connect it to what a shepherd really does and try to make it as real and as close a connection as possible. The rod is a weapon. It's a tool that is used by the shepherd that's a long-distance weapon. It's to ward off the wolves when they're coming against the flock. And so it's something that you can throw. You can get a distance from you. So it's a weighted instrument that you would keep on your belt, and if you saw a predator coming after the sheep to protect the sheep, you'd throw this thing at it, and that would kind of chase the wolves away. This is some comfort for us. I don't know how he'd be using it against me. I'm not sure that's the way I want it to be. The staff, what's the staff used for? The staff is used to guide the sheep where they need to go. Now that's a very nice, gracious way of saying it. If the sheep is going towards a cliff and is going to go off, he uses the staff to get it back in line. He uses the staff to kind of corral them all together and to guide them. Now, do you believe that? Do you want that? Do you like that idea? Who believes that we'll be comforted to have a rod and a staff against us? Maybe it's not against us. Who believes that God prepares a feast for us in the presence of our enemies? Whatever's a tyranny to us, whatever's opposed to us, whatever's making our life difficult. Who believes that there is a feast for us in the midst of all of that? Does anybody buy that? This is crazy stuff. Who does not feel like you're being anointed? Anybody? My guess is in this country, and I think around the world, all of us would be as far from thinking of ourselves as anointed as you could possibly be. It has been depressing, it's been grief-producing, it's been anxiety-producing, and we've reacted to those things with all kinds of emotion and expression and conflict and doubt. Today, it seems like everybody can believe anything they want, and because of that, we get very emotional and defensive if we run into anybody who disagrees with it or sees it a different way. And so there's no common value that we all work together for. There's nothing that helps us to work together or to work through this together. And we don't have the same hope. We don't have the same dream. And so it's a real problem for us. We've not been in this kind of environment before. We've been in environments where different persons have experienced hardship in their lives, but it's never been at the same time for all of us. When we're all there, we're struggling. How do we live? How do we live well It can't be the same as it was defined before. You can't feel like you're living well if you buy a new TV, because you still are afraid of the coronavirus. You can't live well when you go out to eat, because you can't go out to eat the way you used to. Now the restaurants are starting to open, but there's a great concern, at least from some, about whether that's a safe thing to do or not. And the state has just come out, Pennsylvania at least, has just come out with a new guideline that increases the amount that can be in a gathering place, a restaurant or a club or something like that. But it's still less than 50% capacity. So even if we want to go out, there's a little bit of anxiety there too. So we really haven't found the way to be okay in the midst of this. So let's take a look at that scripture again. Let's try to think, what is God really trying to say to us? Because I believe the word is a living word. I think it's blessed countless generations. And that suggests that that word always has something to say to every generation, to every person. It's not about a particular religion. It's not about a particular faith or particular church. It's about trying to find where God is talking to me. And maybe this word that has comforted so many people over so many years, maybe I can find God's presence in that, and maybe that'll make a difference for me. And I think it will. So the idea of having a rod and a staff, let's look at it from a different context, because most of us haven't had to use a staff and most of us haven't been hit by a rod. So let's think about it a different way. Most of us have had discipline given to us by people who care about us at one point or another in our lives. Whether we were really young and people tried to protect us from making the wrong mistake or the wrong decision or doing the wrong thing, sometimes we had people that helped each other. I remember being the son of a preacher, we moved, every so often we would move to a new house and a new church. And I remember this one church where I was very young, and there was this beautiful set of stairs with a long railing. And there was nothing better than sliding down that railing. And I used to love doing that until some of the folks in the church who cared for me, but I didn't realize it at the time, brought a little discipline to bear and told me that wasn't the right thing to do. I'm being a little gracious in the way I'm describing it. But what it is the persons cared about their church and they cared about me and they didn't want me to get hurt. And so a little bit of correction wasn't a bad thing at all. And sometimes this is what happens, and God uses that as a means of encouraging us when someone cares enough. Now, recently our church was trying to redo its directory, and every time you redo a directory, people get lost, you don't have all the names or addresses correct, people let you know about that. If people complain at you, look at it a different way. What they're doing is they're praying, for one thing. When they complain to you about something, what they're doing is they're thinking about how they'd like something to be better. They just don't have a nice way of expressing it. So it's a good thing that they're trying to let us know. And so this is what happens when someone says, hey, you left me out, or you left out my cousin or my grandparents or my grandchildren, or there's a mistake in a dress or something. I think, man, thank you. Because you care enough to want that to be accurate. You care that we get it right. You care about your church. You care about this tool that everybody's going to have, and you're going to help us to do that well. I am so glad that you gave that to me. Now, it takes a little bit of mental effort to look beyond your emotion when someone's criticizing or complaining. But look at it this way. It's a prayer. Something's not right. I'd like it to be right, and I don't know how to express it. A little rod, a little staff is designed to protect us and to help us to go forward okay. And I'm glad we have that, because there have been times where I might have gone the wrong way. There have been times where I might have gone over the cliff and not known it until it was too late. Isn't that true for you? We've had those things happen to all of us, haven't we? Rod and the staff comforting us, it comforts us because we know we can trust the one who's using it. It means we know that all is going to be well. They're not going to let us go over the cliff. They're not going to let us make those mistakes. We might get close. We might get scared, but that's going to be there to keep track, and that's good. The second thing is he prepares a feast in the middle of our enemies. Now, what would you call an enemy right now? You can always personalize it, but let's think of the coronavirus as a worldwide enemy. One that oppresses our emotions, that causes us depression, causes us stress, those who have had to be in their homes for extended periods of time, that's been very difficult. It's been hard to function. I thought we'd have time to do everything I wanted to get done for the last 20 years. Hasn't happened yet. If that's our enemy, what's it mean for God to prepare a feast in the middle of that? It depends on how you think. If I think about the stress, if I think about the grief, if I think about the burden, if I think about the problem, if I think about my woe, then where do you think I'm going to find myself? In a dark hole, in a closet, in the back room someplace. That's what life is going to be. And as long as that's what I'm talking about, as long as that's what I'm thinking about, as long as I'm allowing that to control my heart and my spirit, I'm going to be a miserable person. And when I encounter other people, that misery is going to come out. You can't hold on to that for a long period of time. Maybe you've experienced that too, where stress becomes too long and you get a little snippy. You hold on to stress or conflict a little bit too long and you become very irritable, and it comes out in people that you don't intend, but you can't control it anymore. It's like a teapot letting the steam out. So if that's what's happening, let me not think about that. If I'm putting my mind and heart in that place, then I need to change where I put my mind and heart. And only I can choose to do that. Nobody can force me to think a different way. Only I get to choose how I'm going to think and where I'm going to put my thoughts. So, let me think. What good is there in the midst of all of this? Well, for one thing, I have the ability to choose what I think about. I can allow myself to just accidentally fall into it, or I can allow the pressures of others to control me, but I don't have to do that. I don't have to live that way. I can think, look at the freedom I have to think about what I want to think about, regardless of what anybody else wants to say, think, or do. I have food, and I get to eat. I have work, and I get to work and have meaning in spite of the limitations that are happening around me. I rest at night, and it's good to be able to sleep. And when I wake in the morning, it's a new day. It doesn't feel like a new day sometimes, but maybe that's because that's the way I've chosen to think. Maybe I can set myself free of that. Maybe I can start the day with gratitude. I am so glad for the sleep I got. I'm so glad for the beauty of the day that lies ahead. I'm grateful for the opportunities that you're giving to me and the people that are going to be in my life. I'm not alone. I want to give thanks for my abilities physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I want to give thanks ahead of time. Because if I'm looking for good, I guarantee you'll find it. There is more good in your life right now than any of the bad that you have. Absolutely true. In the world around you, in the opportunities around you, and the things that you have, the things that you're capable of doing, the things that you can think about, the people in your life, there is so much blessing that's surrounding you. It just doesn't get attention. Why? God doesn't demand it. He gives you a feast, but you have to choose whether you're going to eat it. You have to choose whether you're going to enjoy it and make the most of it. And the last one is being anointed. Gratitude leads us to relationship. When someone does something nice for you, it starts you to feel better, doesn't it? Someone has given you acknowledgement. Someone has given you credit. Someone has given you meaning, and you didn't do anything to get it. Now, you may know that I do these Way Stations devotions, daily devotions through the week, to try to encourage and practically apply scriptures and stuff like that. And I had one earlier, I guess it was the end of last week, that a person that I hadn't seen for 20 years sent me a note. And they said, thank you so much for doing that. Now, all this time in between, we'd lost touch with each other, hadn't thought about it at all. I didn't even know if they were still getting it or not. But out of the blue, in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of all the stress that I'm dealing with in terms of ministry and trying to get open and do things like that, all of a sudden, one small, gentle voice from far away and long ago said, I so much appreciate. And that just, so I responded. What did I do? I gave him about a novel and a half about what's been happening in my family since we last saw each other. Probably overdid it. That's what it means for your cup to runneth over. This is how we can live. We see good in the midst of the bad, and we value the good more than we value the bad. Now, it takes some work, it takes some practice. So at the end of the day, here's what I suggest you do. When you lie down to rest, or just before, have a drink of water, take a deep breath, and say, what can I give you thanks for today? I want to be thankful for, and run through your day. I give thanks for the cereal I ate this morning. I give thanks for the berries I got to put on it. I give thanks for the fresh, cool feeling that my body gets when I drink a glass of water. I give thanks that I'm breathing, considering how many hundreds of thousands have died. I give thanks for where I live. I give thanks for the community that I'm a part of. I give thanks for my family. You can never run out of things to give thanks for. But when you're giving thanks, what it does is it calms your body physically. It relaxes your spirit and enables you to rest in a nice, peaceful sleep. The next morning when you wake up, start with thanks. Thanks for the rest. Wow, I've had a lot of sleepless nights, but not last night. Okay. And then you say, I think this can be a better day because I'm going to orient myself a different way. God's way comes out of comfort, comes out of grace, comes out of trust, comes out of looking for the good in spite of the bad. That changes everything. And all of a sudden you'll find yourself smiling. And people say, how can you be so happy? Let me tell you. Let me tell you. We actually heard it in a song, didn't we? We heard it in all the songs that we just heard from Brad Farster. What happened in Brad's music is a connection of heart and mind and spirit uniting together in talent and lifting up all of us with the music. That's a gift from God. Let's bring that gift back to the stage. How we, Brad and Mike? Come on back up.
Is that better?
We'll have to see when you're playing.
Okay. Jumped in the car and we headed for Kansas. Morning found me Port Aransas, having some fun and soaking up sun. I've never been good at keeping directions. Schedules are one of life's worst infections, and strongly believe that I'd rather have nothing than a whole lot of something I don't need. Oh, I'd rather have nothing than a whole lot of something don't suit the life that I lead. Material things and all that money brings must be for some other breed. Well, life ain't about worries and doubts. It comes with the lust and the greed. Oh, I'd rather have nothing than a whole lot of something I don't need. Good one. Spent that evening in an old place in town. A bunch of my new friends my money brought round, and I told them about you and all that we've been through. And everyone there had a similar story. Years full of tears, heartaches and worries, and we all agreed that we'd rather have nothing than a whole lot of something we don't need. Oh, I'd rather have nothing than a whole lot worries and doubts that comes with the lust and the greed. Oh, I'd rather have nothing than a whole lot of something I don't need. Oh, I'd rather have nothing than a whole lot of something I don't need. This next one's actually an original one, so here we go. Husband says we don't need you around here anymore. 20 hard years gave to the company, they just shoved you out the door. You got those bills and a family to raise. I'm so steep to put you in a daze. But don't give up or hang your head. Stick with me, we'll get through it instead. 'Cause a view from the top is better than the bottom when you can make the climb. Reach out your hand, grab a hold of mine. Share them with your friend, throw them on my back. Let me carry your problem. 'Cause a view from the top is better than the bottom. Are you feeling imprisoned by those strong addictions? The chains are heavy, cell is dark, soul is tired and needs a spark. Or maybe your struggle is depression. On the outside you look fine, on the inside is fear and fright. Doesn't seem like you can find the light. But don't give up or hang your head. Stick with me, we'll get through it instead. 'Cause a view from the top is better than the bottom when you can make the climb. Reach out your hand, grab a hold of mine. Share them with your friend, throw them on my back. Let me carry your problem. 'Cause a view from the top is better than the bottom. Says you got cancer, your whole world turned upside down. Or maybe you lost a loved one, your heart aches more than you can bear. Or maybe you feel all alone, even when you're in a crowd. The valley is dark, the valley is deep, the mountains are high and oh so steep. Don't give up or hang your head. Stick with me, we'll get through it instead. 'Cause a view from the top is better than the bottom when you can make the climb. Reach out your hand, grab a hold of mine. Share them with your friend, throw them on my back. Let me carry your problem. 'Cause a view from the top is better than the bottom. 'Cause a view from the top is better than the bottom. This next song's called Horseshoe, and this is a Mike McClure song, and it's kind of like the prodigal song, son song. You know, you always come back home. You know, so that's what this song's about. 5 o'clock traffic out of Huston slow. Got about 400 miles to go. There's a horseshoe welded on the bumper of a truck. It's in front of me, maybe it'll bring a little luck. Ain't done nothing, I can't live with now. Takes a little time and a little know-how. I had to mend a few fences, used to cut through them in the road. Now the only thing room never got me was longing for the feeling of rolling back home. Wonder how many miles I spent in between towns trying to make my rent. So I have tried to write my songs, I have tried to right my wrongs. These bridges are burned to cinderness hood. The ones on the other side better stay put. I had to mend a few fences, used to cut through them in the road. Now the only thing Rome never got me was long for the feeling of rolling back home. 5 o'clock traffic out of Huston slow. Got about 400 miles to go. There's a horseshoe welded on the bumper of a truck. It's in front of me, maybe it'll bring a little luck. I had to mend a few fences, used to cut through them in the road. Now the only thing Rome never got me was long for the feeling of rolling back home. Yes, the only thing Rome never got me was long for the feeling of rolling back home. So this next one's going to be a bit of a medley, and these are all songs. So my my dad's side of the family, my grandfather sang in a gospel quartet for, I don't know, 40, 50 years, something crazy. And he always had a cabinet making business, so I'd always help him in the summertime in the cabinet shop. And he was constantly humming, singing, whistling, some kind of all these songs. So yeah, this one I'm going to dedicate to him. So. Some glad morning when this life is over, I'll fly away to our home on God's celestial shore. I'll fly away. I'll fly away, oh glory. I'll fly away in the morning when I die. Hallelujah, bye bye. I'll fly away. Lord of do, remember me. Do, Lord of do, remember me. Lord of do, remember me. Way beyond the blue. I got home in glory land and I shine to sun. I got home in glory land and I shine to sun. remember me. Do, Lord, do remember me way beyond the blue. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more in darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I wandered so aimlessly, life filled with sin. I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more in darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, oh, by and by? There's a sky, Lord, in that sky. So we sang songs of glory, hymns of faith that kept us strong. Songs that Mother Mary taught us, and the angels sang along. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, oh, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in that sky, Lord, in that sky. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, oh, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in that sky, Lord, in that sky. In that sky, Lord, in that sky. In that sky, Lord, in that sky. Michael has a request. He wants to play one of his favorite songs I did.
Bob Dylan number.
This one is a gospel, but this one's called Girl from the North Country. Thank y'all for tuning in too. So if you're traveling to the North Country Fair, where the winds hit heavy on a borderline, remember me to the one who lives there, for she was once a true love of mine. Please say for me that her hair's hanging down, it curls and flows all down her breast. Please say for me that her hair's hanging down, 'cause that's the way I remember her best. So if you go when the snowflakes fall, when the rivers freeze and summer's end, please say for me that she's wearing a coat so warm to keep her from the howling wind. I'm wondering if she thinks of me at all. she's learned to come some more. 'Cause she was once a true love of mine. True love of mine, yes, a true love of mine. True love of mine, yes, a true love of mine. For she was once a true love of mine. Yes, she was once a true love of mine.
All right. Let's give another big hand to Mike and to Brad. Well, earlier I talked about the idea that some people may not have been interested in church because of the history. You need to move over a little bit there?
I got you.
Okay. Well, you know what? People have said, I don't want to go to church because there's hypocrites there. Well, yeah. What I like to say to that is, where do you want them? The church is a healing place. It's like a hospital. You go to a hospital because you're sick, and you go to a church because you need grace. And so, of course, there's going to be all kinds of folks like that. But you don't want to think about the negative, because here's what I can tell you is there's always some people there that have the warmest hearts that you've ever met. People with the biggest smiles that are contagious. People who have good spirits and good encouragement, and that's what you want to be looking for. What we try to do at the church and the Way Stations with our devotions and the online services and the Spirit Station here, and we're going to be doing community refreshment events starting in May. All of these things is trying to bring the gospel and the good news to people who need good news and refreshment and relaxation and uplift. That's what that's all about. That's what you want to be looking for. You don't want to be looking about the old things that have happened, the bad things that have happened, or the bad people that you might run into. You got to look past that. But what you find is a treasure inside. You ever go and eat some old, stale Cracker Jacks? Anybody remember that? You ate it because you wanted to get to the prize. The bad Cracker Jacks was not worth comparing with the prize that you were going to get when you got in the bottom of the box. And I don't know if that's still true, but what I can tell you is there is more good around you than the bad that you focus on. And if you can let go of that, good things are going to happen. And that's what we're praying for. That's what we're offering to you. By the way, if you have any questions, you can email me at greg@waystationsministries.org. Our worship services are online, so you can check it out there. There's a way that you can find the grace that can bless you every single day. And that's what we're hoping for, because we'd like to see a happy world. And we're doing everything we can to make that happen. So God bless you. Thank you for joining us this week. Next week, Jeff Hartz is going to be our musical guest, and we hope that you'll be here for that. So take care, have a great week, and we'll see you then.